Peace, family, Vie Darling, the Cosmic Queen, and your intergalactic interpreter. I am ready to get into cosmic tea for this week. I know it's a couple days late, but that's okay. It's still going to be relevant and helpful. This week, according to the 𝗪𝗪𝘁 table, and I have a sidereal 𝗪𝗪𝘁 table. I'm also looking at the true sidereal chart for the 7th of December, because that's Sunday, starting at 7 p.m. And we're looking at 𝗂𝗪 point because that's as close as I can get to Null Island with the software that I'm using. I would love to create my own software. That would be so awesome. If there's an app developer out there, software engineer, let's fucking do it, because I just think that like the real astrology girlies would love it. Right? I don't know how people make money off of like free apps, but in any case, we're gonna talk about a few things that are happening, like Neptune going direct on the 12th, on the 11th, and that's gonna be happening in the sign of Pisces. I just want to make sure that it is where I think it is. So what I end up having to do, is this Greenwich Mean Time? Or like, yeah, it's Greenwich Mean Time. Well, I apologize for making you guys wait. These are things that I don't think about immediately. But what I do, and I'll just walk you through this so that like you guys understand, is I find out what time, Greenwich Mean Time, it's gonna be going, which it's the same across all systems, but I put it into the true sidereal calculator so that I can find out like where it's actually going to be in the cosmos, because that is actually like way more important for me, at least. And I realized I used to get a lot more clients when I was lower vibrational, and that's not like a bad thing, like that I was lower in a vibration, because I simply was. I could still have been vibrating higher, but like, 5 is lower than 10, and if it's like, oh, okay, like, I want to be a 10, like, 8's not bad. 8's not bad. 8's still a decent grade, 80%, that's a B. When you want to start worrying is when you're getting to like 4. Especially like, it's like, if you know that you can vibrate at 8, but you're choosing to vibrate at 4 just because like you're being self-indulgent and lazy and selfish, you know what I mean? Like, that's not cool. But if you can vibrate at 8, and 8 is your highest that you can vibrate at, it's also not a good idea to vibrate that high all the time, because it will actually be like harmful for you and potentially cause you to go into psychosis. It's not necessarily the exact thing that I've experienced on a few different occasions, but it's similar in that like, I could go deeper into the ethers. I could like do some really serious divination. Actually, I think that this is the perfect example. So when I was the resident astrologer for the text service, Text from Planet, I don't know who they have working for them now, so I cannot guarantee its accuracy, but when I was working for Text from Planet, I had to pull the astrology for every single day, and I did that for a year, and it was exhausting. I did like I did jump light years, like literally I jumped like light years, but I also was completely worn out. I was so worn out all the time, and I did not feel like, I just really needed to rest, and I wasn't able to because I was always vibrating so high, because I was so high in the ethers, that I was pulling astrology like so much, you know what I mean? And this was just not good for my mental and emotional well-being, or even my physical well-being. If I were saying like between 5 and 10, and 5 is a good, like, is really an, maybe, yeah, if I'm between 5 and 10, and you know, 5 is that threshold before it's like, okay, you're going too low now. I want to be vibrating around 7. I can go up to 10, but I don't want to spend too much time at 10, right? Because what's going to end up happening is when I eventually burn out and crash after wearing out all of my energy, because it's a marathon, not a sprint, I'm going to fall well below 5. You know what I mean? It's likely that I'm going to fall down to a 3. And although I might not cause harm to anybody else, because that's not necessarily what being low vibrational means, it means that like my energy is moving slower and lower and denser. That's when I experience burnout. You know what I mean? So it's really important to pace ourselves and recognize that, like, you know, it's really one day at a time. If you have some behaviors, let's use some more specific language. If you have some toxic behaviors that are harmful to you and or others, and if you're harming others, you're ultimately harming yourself. That's not to say like self-defense is a different story, but if you're just like randomly or wantonly harming others, like for no good reason, then that's a different ballgame that we're playing. But all that to say, you know, that's stuff that you need to vibrate higher around. That's stuff that you need to stop doing and replace with a higher vibrational behavior. So if you are drinking too much and you are getting like wasted, you need to find out, why am I doing that? You need to stop doing it. You need to stop drinking to excess and find out, why was I drinking to excess? Oh, because I'm running away from myself. Why? Because I don't like myself. Why? I'm afraid that people are going to find out that I'm different. And if they find out that I'm different, then they're not going to love me anymore. Well, guess what? Then fuck them. They're not right for you. So you need to stop drinking so much and stop pretending to be someone that you're not. Start living in your truth and loving yourself. And that's not gonna happen overnight. That's a practice. That's what we do here in Cosmic Wellness, is we develop a practice of living in Christ consciousness. And then what happens? And then you practice so much that it becomes a habit, it becomes a way of life, and you don't even have to try anymore. And yeah, you're going to experience like karmic tests along the way. Of course you are. The first karmic test is the big doozy, where you start to prove to yourself, like, oh, I can do this. I can like overcome my challenges in character flaws. They are flaws, none of us are flawless. We all have our faults that we gotta work on. And that's how we do it. And the more that you can accept that and be okay with that, the happier it will be. And I say this, and I'm like, adding on to that. We all have our flaws. We all have our sometimes. And you know, colonialism makes us think that we should be perfect. We should always be doing everything perfectly. And that's simply not true. As you can tell from what I just said, that's just not even possible. If you vibrate at 10 all the time, you're going to go into psychosis and you're probably going to die. Just FYI. And if you don't die, then you're going to be in psychosis. So that's going to, burnout is going to save you from going into psychosis. But you need to save yourself by being discerning about when to use your power, when to use your energy, and when not to. So like I said, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So let's get into this reading. When Neptune goes direct, it's gonna be, yes, in the sign of Pisces, in the first house. It's not at 5 degrees, it's about at 8 degrees, actually. Because Ophiuchus is 1, 2, 4, 6, that's 5. Ophiuchus is only about 11 degrees, if I'm counting correctly. It's only about 11, maybe 13 degrees. So that's really interesting to know. But the thing is, like, all of the constellations are a specific size. They're not equidistant. So anyway, Neptune retrograde is going to be happening in the first house in Pisces. The direct is going to be happening there. The moon is going to be allegedly transiting through Cancer, Leo, and into Virgo. The moon will be in Virgo starting the 13th, which is the end of the week. Mars is going to enter into Sagittarius on the 12th. That may not necessarily be true, just once again, like, it may or it may not, because that information is coming from a sidereal ephemeris table, but around the 12th, Mars should be moving into the sign of Sagittarius. It's not, the shifts are not that big, but we do want to be mindful of them. So we have a grand trine. This grand trine is mainly air energy. It's between Jupiter retrograde in Libra in the 7th house, trine Mercury Gemini, and then Mercury's in Libra in the 11th house, and it is making a trine to Saturn in Pisces in the 3rd house, and other systems, like regular sidereal would say that Saturn, that's where Saturn is, that's right. Okay, good. Yeah, it's in Pisces. You never know, you just want to be sure. So, oh wait, no, that's tropical, not sidereal. Yeah, it's reading Saturn as at 1 degree of Pisces, so that's good. That's good. And so once again, it's actually more air than water, but there's the overlapping energy of the spectral energy between Libra and Pisces. And let's talk about that. 7th house, 3rd house, and 11th house. I'd say it definitely has to do with our social lives. something I've been picking up a lot lately is just like this surveillance energy. People who are being used as vessels for Shaitan because they are low vibrational enough to be mounted by Shaitan, and they are carrying out karmic retribution for, certain ways that we've been outside of our power is the easiest way to describe that. And obviously, we don't like that experience. We'd rather not have that experience. We'd rather experience ease and grace, but it's like, we are the ones who have to level up and stop allowing nonsense and BS in our lives. We're the ones who have to start showing up as our higher self as much as we possibly can. And these areas of friction that we are experiencing right now are giving us the opportunity to do just that. They're giving us the opportunity to show up as just that, our higher self, our better self. We don't have to be unhappy. We don't have to be unhappy. We don't have to be in situations where we are uncomfortable. We don't have to stay in those kinds of situations. And for some of you, you don't need, if you're a magical person, this is something that is going to be really great for you to know for your own benefit. But what works for the fly, what is normal to the fly, is chaos to the spider. And what you need to understand is that what works for mundanes is not going to work for you, because why would it? You know what I mean? Why would it work for you? You're not mundane. You know that this system is set up in a different way. But beyond it being set up in a different way, it's you're the one who has the choice and the agency to be able to decide what you do, where you go, how you act. You know what I mean? Those are your choices. And honestly, they're going to want you to make a choice that gives them the right to harm you. So they're going to set up situations that encourage that. Well, they're living outside of their power. That's giving me more energy. So really what it is mind control. They like to manipulate. The option is there for you to do what you got to do. Even if it's uncomfortable, they're going to manipulate you. They're going to make sure that it's set, the way they set it up is that they're going to make sure that you have all of these obstacles. And you've been manipulated into thinking that it's impossible for you because of these obstacles, even though you know that you are so powerful. It's you're so powerful, and why are you in this kind of situation, and why are you in that kind of situation? And you will start to ask yourself that. Remember, that's exactly is it in the Bible? I don't know if it's in the Bible actually, but I do know that it's in Paradise Lost. That's exactly the way that the devil talked to Yeshua in Paradise Lost by 𝗪𝗪𝘁. 𝗪𝗪𝘁 is his name, I think. So know that when you're being talked to like that by Shaitan, that's why. Because they are testing you. They are bedeviling you on purpose. That your strength comes from showing them that they're not going to be successful. they're not going to be successful. They're not going to win. They're not going to get you to step outside of your power or cede your right to your power, although you never cede your right to your power. But if you choose to step outside of your power, then that gives them the right to do certain things. Or you're going to experience certain things that are associated with being outside of your power. And no, none of them are going to actually be fun. And in the context of being generative, at a certain point, the karmic lessons are no longer worth it. It's like you're only in this situation because you clearly have not learned your lesson yet. It's like, well, I don't want to do this thing. Well, you need to do it. That's why you're still in that lesson. Clearly. That's a really important point. It is helpful to be aware of. And let's look more at the chart. It's about us coming into balance. It's about us coming into union with our divine counterpart, who's also us. We are our own divine counterpart. Our most whole self, our highest timeline, our most optimal timeline. This most optimal is better than high. Don't use language that's binary. Use language that's spectral, because you're changing at any given time, and if you're vibrating too high already, then you need to be on your most optimal timeline, which might be lower. You might need to show up as your most optimal self, which might be, a previous version of yourself from, your lived experience, or from a parallel universe, another timeline. Your lived experience, notice you're no longer living it. You've jumped timelines, you've changed to a different person. You might have to go back and bring back a past version of yourself to some degree to handle shit. You feel me? It really changes day to day. It's situational. I really can't say any more about that. I think that's as clear as, it's very clear, and you're being given the support. The opportunities are showing up for you. This energy is very, very powerful, but we do have a crossroads energy between Pluto and Capricorn in the second house, intersecting, or rather opposing Jupiter retrograde in Gemini in the 7th, and that's being intersected by Mercury, Libra, opposing Uranus retrograde in Taurus. So this is really about letting go of fear. There's something about practicality in terms of our changes and our shifts and our growth. And that's in the 6th house. Yeah, small changes. Changing our habits, our routines, and our patterns is actually going to have a much bigger change. And this is going to come from, we're going to want to do. Anyway, we're going to want to do that because of this shift in consciousness we're going to experience, but it's going to feel like, we want to make this shift, but something's telling us not to, because we don't want to, because of whatever happened in the past, or an attachment to the past. And I don't think it's It's like, well, I did it this way and that was the lesson back then, and the lesson now is different from the lesson back then, so like if I do that differently then I'm going to get the same consequence. No, because new level, new devil. Okay, use your discernment. Sometimes you gotta whoop ass, and sometimes you gotta just like get out of the way. It's really giving that. Whatever, there's something that you need to change your approach. Your approach worked before, where it's like, oh, I was being responsible. I learned to be responsible, and now that quote unquote responsibility is no longer working because we're in a different world now. And that's in a crossroads with Pluto in Capricorn in the second house. Yeah, really is, really is. And Jupiter retrograde in Gemini in the seventh house. It was based on past contracts, and now we are done with those contracts, and it's like that's where the opportunity lies in, and that's the challenge. And bringing those two ideas together, the ideas of the Grand Trine, the lessons of the Grand Trine, the lessons of the crossroads are going, that's what's going to level you up here. We have Saturn and Neptune also making aspects to, well, they're making a sextile to Pluto, and they're making a square to Mars and Ophiuchus and the ascendant. And we also have Uranus retrograde, which is also making an opposition to Venus in Scorpio in the 12th house. Mars in Ophiuchus is, yeah, really resetting our karma. So this is a period where we're being tested right now. And we're not being tested as punishment, we're being tested so that we can move forward, we can jump timelines like we've been wanting to. Okay, and yeah, let's talk about how the moon is going to play into this. Because we just had a full moon, right? And so now it's going to be waning. And it starts in Cancer, so yeah, you may be starting the week off feeling very emotional. You're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And that's your emotional intelligence communicating to you. Like, it's revealing stuff that's been hidden that's like of detriment to you. It needs to be revealed. Your intuition and also your feelings about things. Your subconscious is bringing that forward, and you're having a lot of feelings about that stuff, which is fair. And then it moves into Leo, and you find your power, and you find your fire again after you've processed through the grief of what you've got to do. You know, here's the time to pray for courage to do what you have to do. Here's the time to pray for courage to do what you have to do. You don't want to be acting from a prideful place. You want to be acting from a sovereign place. I don't allow this kind of treatment because I am a sovereign. I'm a child of God. Why would I allow someone to treat me that way? and you did in the past, well, pray for clarity, pray for wisdom. And that's what comes in with that moon and Cancer energy. To just like know that you're potentially going to be like, well, the moon's actually in Gemini, so it's a lot of information is coming through. How you're going to feel about that information is what remains to be seen. And that's your experience of processing that information. Let yourself feel your feelings. But once that moon gets into Cancer, that's probably if you've been feeling tired, if you've been feeling confused, or like really feeling quite emotional, you know, give yourself rest, because you're processing a lot, you're downloading a lot, you're processing a lot. And yeah, the South Node is in Leo, so you don't want to be prideful. You want to operate from a place of courage, wisdom, sovereignty. I don't let people treat me like that. Fuck you. Who the fuck is you? That type of shit. We're not on that. We are in a place of like, okay, well, I don't accept this kind of behavior. I don't accept this kind of treatment. The way that I engage with, that I'm to be engaged with is this, and this. I don't tolerate this, and this. So I'm not going to interact, and I'm going to remove myself. Period. Don't get caught up in this mental place of being in combat or being at war. Other people want to take you there. You don't allow that to happen, and you do what you gotta do. Ask for the help that you need. Yeah, I think honestly, I feel like that's, you know, with the ascendant in Sagittarius, there's a lot of wisdom coming in here, and it is an elevation. It is, you know, an elevation of your spirit, of your soul, coming out of the realms of death and despair, you know, what maybe seems like a hell realm, being risen to the land of the living. That's what's happening right now, where those old parts of you, especially like wounded inner parts, fragmented parts that are like your inner children, there's restoration happening there, and you just have to go with it. You know, pause is going to be your friend. Pause, pray, and then be proactive and put it to work. That's your praxis. And everything is just a practice. So you just do your best, and the best results will come back to you. And it's up to you to have the discerning eye to witness that and know what it is that is a result of you doing your best. All right, so I love you all truly and deeply. I hope that this was helpful, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace.